remember this as the day you sailed with the Skull Rock podcast. Proceed at your own risk and mark well me words, ladies. Dead men tell no tale.
And this week, dead men and dead women. And whether you're a lifelong Disney fan or theme park junkie or someone that just loves great storytelling, you found your new favorite show. Welcome to the Skull Rock Podcast. I'm Aljon Go, musician, longtime Disney fan, and pop culturist, joined by special co-host.
I'm Cat Arcori, experiential producer, film historian. Welcome to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Hello, Cat. Welcome.
Hi, how
Welcome
are you?
Back. I'm doing great.
Thank you.
Cat is such a great friend to me and co-host of Dining at Disney and occasionally Skull Rock Podcast when Dave is on assignment. So welcome back.
Someday Dave and I will do a show at the same time.
We were supposed to do it for the holidays, gang, and we just, for whatever reason, we just didn't get it together in time.
No.
But we will. We'll
Someday.
have you on the show, and that way you can. I would love for you to just ask Dave all the questions about all the film restorations and films he's done, and
Yes.
working with Roy Disney and all that.
Yes.
Stuff.
And we can also prove that we're not the same person because we've never been seen in the same place at the same time before. So,
Well, this is true. I mean, once again, you never know, it's strange days, but I tell you what, we have an awesome interview with you. JJ Sedelmaier is back for part 2, and JJ's production company has been doing all kinds of fun stuff. I remember his work with Beavis and Butthead and all the Robert Smigel shorts that his production company did, Ambiguously Gay Duo, the stuff he did for Schoolhouse Rock, but those were all fun. TV Funhouse, the stuff he did for Saturday Night Live, just classic stuff. So we're going to continue to talk about that. It's kind of a interesting detour because, normally we talk to Disney filmmakers and stuff, but it is fun to talk about animation, the Liquid TV stuff, all the stuff from MTV. And he was definitely part of that. And I don't know, Kat, maybe I'm dating myself because I just mentioned Liquid TV on MTV. And I loved that animation block. I don't know about you, right?
I mean, it was a little, I got it second hand because when it was live, I was a little too young, but Beavis and Butthead and that, the Saturday TV Funhouse. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's so good. It's so good. Stuff like that would not, it would not air today, which is crazy.
No. But
it was crazy.
You actually checked out Saturday Night Live recently? Because I saw clips of Jack Black's recent show and Olivia Rodrigo. And the clips I've seen, it seems like they're going back in time. Like they've found the stuff that really works. And I started kind of posting some of that stuff again, like on my reels and things, just reposting stuff. And people were like, is Saturday Night Live back? Are they back? And I said, well, perhaps maybe they found just really, really great writers again. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seemed to me very hit and miss over the past 15 years. And I don't know.
Yes.
Inconsistent. Now they seem to be more consistent, right?
Yeah. I think Marcelo's doing something really, really incredible. Just like in general. He's so he brings such an interesting point of view and all the things that I feel like he doesn't miss, which is crazy.
Yeah. It leads me to want to watch again. And I think the cast members that are there are brilliant, smart, just really funny. So maybe they're getting back to their next golden age. I wouldn't say maybe how many ages were there in Saturday Night Live? Maybe there were 4 distinct eras of Saturday Night Live as you go through the decades, and they kind of fell off. Anyway, I digress. before we get into the show proper, I wanted to give a little plug. We had recently on the show, friend of the show, Arnold Leibovit, and he is a film restorer. He's been working with the George Powell estate to really bring back some of the classic Gumby restored films and animation, stop motion animation. And now he's working with Ray Harryhausen and the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which is really cool. So you can check out rare features and a video appearance by Richard Eyre, which was the Genie of the Lamp in that particular movie, the Ray Harryhausen's Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and two more groundbreaking George Powell puppetoons that he's restored in this screening. So mark your calendars for Saturday, July 25th, this year as I speak to you in person, 2026, the year, in case you're listening to this in the future, the Frida Cinema in Santa Ana. And Kat, you're familiar with the Frida, right?
I love the Frida. The Frida is a wonderful, wonderful, like not indie, but independent for sure cinema. It's great, and it's a wonderful place to see films.
Yeah,
they do great screenings.
Privately owned cinema, yes.
Yes.
And so, rare video appearance by Richard Eyre, as I said. You have two more George Powell shorts, and hosted by Arnie Leibovit, a friend of Ray Harryhausen. And what I love about Arnie is that he's just so intent on restoring these films as they should be, and seen and viewed on the silver screen the way they were intended. And so we need more people to take that loving care and restoration of these classics. So check it out. 6 p.m. doors open, 7 p.m. Puppetoons and the Voyage of Sinbad with special host Arnie. So please check that out. Link will be in the show notes so you can get info and tickets. You can also see the trailer that we played a few weeks back as well. Very cool stuff. And now it is time for listener email, and it's a short one this week. Dave's out of town. He gets the lion's share of the email, but I'm going to read this one real quick.
Skull Rock Podcast answers your email.
All right. So we have here from Animation Y'all Expo's post show. This is from the DRC2. Another great podcast Animation Y'all delivered again this year. With all that's been going on, it did make it challenging to get everywhere I wanted. Had to make some tough choices, but still got some great events. Thanks for the work, and I look forward to the next podcast or however you are sharing info. Don from Michigan. Well, no, we have this podcast thing on YouTube now, and that's why we're showing a lot of video. So although this week's podcast interviews are audio only, but we do intend on sharing video of that in the weeks to come and going back through the archive, because Dave has archived every single interview, and there's a lot of bloopers and stuff I still have to edit out, but it's a slow process. But we will have more video interviews on YouTube separate from the show, so that you can go back and listen to those. Animation Expo. You got to love it. Animation Y'all Expo. Thank you, Don from Michigan. And now it is time for our picks of the week.
Pam, she wrote this great review of my poetry book.
That's my pick.
I read a great review.
Your girlfriend got a great review.
Oh, that's my pick, too. Sorry.
Excuse me while I start the projector.
Skull Rock Podcast, Picks of the Week. So normally Dave would be here talking about his picks of the week, but let's start with our guest host, Kat. What have you been watching, and what can you recommend or maybe jeer?
Oh, I have some unpopular opinions this week.
Okay, shoot. Oh.
This is not new for me. You know this.
Okay.
I saw 2 films last weekend, and both of them were not great.
Okay.
The first one was Michael. Have you guys talked about Michael at all?
We haven't yet. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I've got a screener for it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. So it was beautifully shot. Gorgeous. Antoine Fuqua, of course. It was gorgeously shot. Beautiful. Costume design, incredible. Set design, incredible. It's part 1. Did you know this? That it's part 1 of 2?
I heard.
I did not know that going into it. So imagine my surprise when the film ends in the 1988 era. And I was like, wait a minute. What? Okay, I guess.
I heard they had to reshoot it. I heard they had to reshoot it because there were maybe some issues talking about the 90s era, Michael.
Sure. But it took 2 hours to get to 1988. And I was like, okay, I guess. I don't know. I had a lot of just timing issues with it.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like, even though it was beautiful and we all know the story because it's about Michael Jackson, who might be the most famous person in the world ever, maybe. I don't know, after,
True.
I just was not expecting it to end so early in his life because just made, I don't know. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, mostly for the cinematography and the costume work. My recommendation to anyone who's a fan of Michael Jackson is to just go and watch the miniseries with Angela Bassett, because it's the same thing. It's the same thing. There was nothing like new or shocking or interesting even.
Well, plus they have Angela Bassett.
And exactly. And also Angela Bassett. So not that Nia Long isn't incredible. Nia Long is incredible too. She's great.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what was happening in that theater for a lot of it. The thing that I want you to see it, Aljon, because it starts with, oh God, it starts with a song and I forget what song it is, but the thing that jarred me about it so badly was the tempo is like double what it normally is. It's so fast. And I was like, this is not the tempo of this song. And it was like right off the bat, like they just threw you into this. There's nothing on the screen. It's like rolling title cards. And this song is like if you put something on a tape deck and just fast forward it through it.
Wow. I wonder if you got to be starting something, because
it might have been.
Because when Michael does that song live, it is like a freight train out of control fast. It's not like the recorded version. We'll get back to you on this because first of
Please
all, what you don't know, Kat, is I'm going to ask you to come in next week. But
hooray!
Because Dave is still going to be out. He's still in France. He's still gallivanting around France. But I do plan on seeing this film.
Yes, please do.
It's a busy week, so I can come back and we can talk about it. But
yeah, I think you are right that it was that track, and even like compared to a live version of it, I was like, it was jarring.
Just really fast.
Yeah. But
here's a question: how's Jafar?
Yes.
How's Jafar Jackson?
That was my next thing to say. Is he's incredible?
Okay. Oh,
he's incredible.
Good.
He's incredible. He looks so much like him, but he also like embodies this like otherworldliness that he had as a child, and he acts so beautifully opposite Coleman Domingo and Nia, and I just was so surprised. Like, it's just he does a beautiful job. So,
well, that is Jermaine Jackson's son, and you also noted, Nia's amazing actress, but also one of my favorites, Coleman Domingo from The Walking Dead, that I just love. He's just so good.
I'm not going to say it until you see it. There is something very obviously missing from this film. So when you see it,
you don't have to spoil. You don't have to spoil
no,
Janet.
Yeah.
There's no Janet.
No, there's no Janet.
There's no Janet.
at all.
I already know. And they asked her, there is some family tension going on. I think that made it very difficult for this film, A, to move past 88, and B, to include anything from Janet.
Yeah.
And the Jackson brothers and the family and Janet on the other side, it's clear that there are some really deep issues.
Yeah.
And I saw the Janet Jackson doc that was released a few years ago.
Sure.
And I thought it was great. I thought it was very candid. But
yes,
man, there's
agree.
some serious family drama going on there.
It's just a lot. I was like, what is happening here? I should have done more research before I went into it, but I was like, it's Michael. It's about Michael.
It's good. I read so much that comes across my feed because these biopic, especially the music and the placement of instruments and stuff, I'm always there because the prop masters always contact us to provide props.
Of course.
And so, because we have a station and we have an office in Hollywood, so that's kind of what happens. But it's like, oh, I can't wait to see it and see all the cool guitars in it and everything. And so, yeah, it's sad about Janet because she was, to me, just so intertwined, especially in the post-these era.
Oh yeah.
When you talk about Scream and all that stuff they were doing together, which to me is like the best. So your final verdict on Michael is okay.
Don't expect much, but see it.
Okay.
The other thing I saw was Devil 2.
Top 10 movie this week.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't for me.
No.
I don't have nostalgia for the original. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It came out in 2006. I was a senior in high school. I was moving out of my parents' house. It was a rough time for me when it came out the first time. So I wasn't seeing a lot of things back then that weren't, high art because I was a snob. I still am a snob, spoiler alert. And I went into this one with no expectations, mostly because even though a lot of people say that the first one is one of the most rewatchable movies ever, I haven't seen the first one maybe in 10 years. It's not something I gravitate to. It's not something that echoed with me just on a base level. I felt like in the world, not this world, but any world, where you have absolutely no growth as a person over the span of 20 years, you need therapy. And these characters had not changed. It was the same characters. It was the same action. It was the same dialogue cadence. And I just was like, we're doing it again. Okay. All right. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Great. Love that. Perfect.
Got it.
It was not for me. I saw it with my movie club. And I will say I was the odd man out in this situation for sure. But it didn't echo for me at all. It just felt like billionaire propaganda and an echo of the first one.
Would you say that their attempt at rebooting this franchise would have been better served with just a recast and telling the same story again?
No, because honestly, everyone in this movie is terrible.
Okay.
And they're terrible at the front, not like the actors. Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt and Stanley Tucci are incredible. The characters are just terrible people, and they're mean to each other at the beginning, and they're still mean to each other and everyone around them at the end. There's no growth. There's nothing. And I'm just like, it's the same as the first one. They're mean to each other at the beginning. They're mean to each other at the end. It's just, there's like a trend. Not that this is a romantic comedy. This is not a romantic comedy. Let me be very candid. It's not. But there is a trend of romantic comedies right now where the main character, whether that character be man, woman, non-binary, whatever, there's a trend that the main character is just awful They acknowledge how awful they are. And then that's it. And I'm like, okay. Like, The Materialist is one that comes to mind. Dakota Johnson's character in The Materialist is horrifically terrible through the whole thing. She actively says, I am a terrible person, like throughout the entire movie. But in the end, she still gets the guy and she still gets the happy ending. And I'm like, okay, I love that happy ending. Love a happy ending. But I also love character growth. Like, I can watch someone be terrible.
Isn't that storytelling 101?
Yes.
That the protagonist has a character arc, right?
Of some kind.
Some would say even a hero's journey. The next thing is that as a filmmaker, as a writer, you have 3 acts in order to set things up and then to pay it off in the 3rd act.
Yes.
Right? You establish it, then you find out what the issue is, and then you have to resolve the issue. It's really simple, but if there's no growth, then where's the plot?
Yeah, like, what are we doing? And also, why?
Here?
Why are we doing it? So
Exactly.
It didn't hit for me,
Oof.
but I know a lot of people loved it, including most of my friends. So take what I say with a grain of salt, as always, because I am a harsh critic.
Well, no, I mean, you are a film historian, so it's important to know that, the telling of a story in 3 acts is
just
kind
like
of a storytelling
the
thing for
basics.
like millennia.
Yeah, the basics of most things. Next week when we talk, I will have seen what is being touted as Knives Out for people who are pure of heart, which is the Sheep Detective. So
I can't wait.
Hopefully we'll have an A+ on that one. Television, I watched a lot of stuff this week.
Okay.
Highlights, Worst Ex Ever on Netflix.
Okay.
Are you familiar?
I am.
I love the Netflix documentary series where they do like half of it animated. It makes me so happy. It's like completely ridiculous. Instead of doing live like human reenactions, they do animation, and it just makes me, it's incredible.
Yeah,
the stories are
their docs,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The stories are horrific. Don't get me wrong. If you're a true crime fan, you've probably heard of a lot of these stories already. But
I've seen it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Agreed.
It's season 2. There's like 4 episodes. It's great. The other thing I watched is 2 pieces of the Netflix is it Untold?
Yes.
The sports documentaries, the sports crime documentaries. It's a horse documentary. It's about the equestrian who in a dispute with one of his trainees attempted to kill her, and all in a dispute over a horse, and that he like went into psychosis, and he thought she was trying to kill him, so he tried to kill her, and they both are in this thing, and it's absolutely crazy. And in the clips from his trial, he's like completely disheveled, and they're like saying that he's temporarily insane, but he's also in the documentary currently like looking like $1 million and completely coherent. And she's also in the documentary talking about it. She shares absolutely no responsibility for what happened. Not saying that he should have shot her, but the whole thing leading up to it with the horse and it's crazy. Highly recommend.
Okay.
And then I also watched the Lamar Odom episode with one of the Kardashians about his drug use and his almost death, which is really interesting. I'm not involved in that world. I know you watch a lot of reality TV, Aljon. I do not, so I don't know a lot about that relationship. And to be honest with you, prior to this, I didn't care to know anything about it. I probably couldn't have pointed Lamar Odom out in a lineup because I also don't watch basketball.
No. I totally get it. I totally get it. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't watch all of that stuff. I do watch some,
Mm-hmm.
Love Island being one of
Sure,
them.
sure.
But but yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get it. But sometimes you find these Netflix documentaries, and
Yeah.
they're just done so well.
Oh, I
that
agree.
You don't have to be familiar with the topic because they literally hook you in the first 5 minutes, and then
Yeah.
it
It was
unravels.
It was great. It was great. It's true crime, so or true life documentary style, so it's not you don't have to suspend your disbelief. It's real. But not knowing anything about him or that relationship or what happened to him, it was very compelling. They had a lot of his family and cohorts on doing interviews, and he was very candid. I'm sure it was still very censored, but it was very candid about, what happened and how it happened and why it happened and the repercussions of it happening, and his kids who are adults now talking about, the way that those things affected them it was compelling. I was very pleasantly surprised by it.
That's pretty high marks considering you don't know him. So
I don't. I love that series. I don't know what it is. It started with like the Aaron Hernandez murders, and I was like, okay, I'm in on this documentary series. I don't know what's gonna happen or what they're gonna do it about, because most sports stuff, if it's not about hockey, I probably haven't heard about it.
Yeah, no.
Like in real time. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to me.
It's just well done. It's
Yeah.
just well done.
Yeah.
And you talk about setting the hook, and then you just see it unfurl, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is just, the most whacked out stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So well done. Yeah.
It's crazy. And then my final thing that I'm going to talk about without spoiling it, because I know you're not caught up, is Daredevil Born Again season 2.
There you go.
I finished it this week, and they're doing something so special with Marvel television right now. The Punisher special comes out this week.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any trailers for Spider-Man in July, but I know Johnny Bernthal's in it, and they're doing something so special. The things that Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are doing on screen on this show, it's remarkable. It truly is remarkable. And I'm so pleasantly surprised that after they brought this thing back, they're continuing to tell this story successfully in a way that makes you want to come back every week.
Yeah.
Have you watched Wonder Man?
Not yet. I tried to get through the first episode, but I am backed up. The family
Yeah.
has been coming first, so I haven't.
Of course.
had a chance.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Wonder Man, I watched Wonder Man and I inhaled it. I consumed it whole like a python.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. It was something that I don't think Marvel has done in a long time, television wise, that made it so. I was in the story and I wanted to know what happened next. And I was like, oh, okay, Wonder Man, it was so good. It's not going to get a second season. We're never going to see this character again. It got picked up for a second season. And I was like, oh, wait.
Awesome.
Are we doing this? Okay. All right. So I went into Daredevil's Born Again season 2, with kind of high expectations, because once Wonder Man hit, I was like, okay, they're going all in on these television productions now. And they didn't disappoint. I was so happy. The storytelling is incredible. The supporting cast is incredible. And the way that they pushed all the way through the 8 episodes, there's not a second of checking your watch or doing something else at the same time. If you're in the story, you are in it and you want to be in it. And I think that's a really special thing to create right now.
I love hearing it. I'm such a fan of the original Marvel Netflix shows.
Agree.
Daredevil, Kristen Ritter, big fan of the Luke Cage series. I think
Ugh.
Nick Coulter is like one of my favorite actors, and I loved him in that series that spun off after that. He was in that where
Evil?
he played the priest.
Evil.
Oh my God, Evil was so good.
He's wonderful.
Evil was so good.
He's
So
wonderful.
good. But I'm a big fan of the Defenders overall.
Same.
So yeah, I'm really glad that they're doing something, as you said, something special. Vincent D'Onofrio to me is like such a great actor, so good, and Charlie is too. Don't get me wrong, it's all good. John Bernthal, same. I loved John since he was in The Walking Dead when he was Shane, and just the hits keep coming. So I'm glad they're just providing banger after banger of high drama in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and in the Marvel TV series. That's great. And I will catch Wonder Man eventually, but
yeah, I can't recommend it more. I feel like Marvel is the most successful when it fully buys in on itself. Yes. And when you have a property like Daredevil, like Punisher, Wonder Man, it's not as current or as gritty, but when they do something and they take it seriously and they let it be what it is, which is gritty and dark, and it has a message and it has just a backbone that carry the foundation and the weight of the story like it was meant to, the success is off the charts. It's off the charts. I love it so much.
Would you say that this is just paying respect to the source material?
God, yes. Are you kidding?
See?
Absolutely.
That's it, right?
Absolutely.
And our team listening today, Team Skull Rock Podcast, know this. Cat is a huge comic book nerd.
Oh, yeah. If you're watching it.
There he is. There it is. I mean, she bounds as Agent Carter, for heaven's sake. So,
love Agent Carter. Love Peggy.
Of course.
But, yeah.
All right. So let's get down to the brass tacks here. So finally saw Send Help. Finally.
Yes.
Finally. The boilerplate. Let me get my readers on. You see, this is what happens when you don't have the proper prescription. For those watching at home, an employee and her insufferable boss become stranded on a desert island, and only the survivors of the plane crash must overcome their grievances and work together to make it out alive. So, I am such a huge fan of Sam Raimi, the director. Every Raimiism there is on full display here. From the Evil Dead hand to the vomit, the pea soup vomit, to the insane amount of blood, gratuitous violence. Everything you love about the Evil Dead and Sam Raimi from day one is in this, but done in a great way to serve the story, in my opinion. And, you have this disheveled, poor, hardworking person who is being passed up from a promotion from some a-hole of a vice president boss. She gets plucked out to make sure she helps this entire team close this deal as they head down to Taiwan or wherever they're going. And then the plane crashes. Every asshole is dead on the plane ride except for the boss, this a-hole of a boss. And now the power paradigm has shifted. Yes, it's every bit as delightful and more so than I could ever imagine, because this is what everybody lives through vicariously. I hate my boss. My boss is keeping me down. Now the paradigm has shifted. Now I'm the boss and you need me. And then there's a twist. And then there's another. And so it goes on and goes on until it's very satisfying in the end. In my opinion, it is satisfying in only the way Sam Raimi can do it. So, Send Help. I loved it. Rachel McAdams, one of the most gorgeous people in Hollywood, made out to look like a complete wallflower. And Dylan O'Brien, the boss, completely does great. So kudos to the cast. It's definitely a small earth kind of film because it happens on a desert island. And I feel for the protagonist. I feel for her. So do I recommend it? Yes. Hell yeah. I do, especially as a fan of Sam Raimi. But even if you're not a fan of Sam Raimi, I think you're still going to enjoy Send Help. You can stream it now on Hulu.
Agree.
Good, good. I'm glad we agree on that. So, Kristen and I, my wife, we watched The Handmaid's Tale on Hulu like every season. It was riveting. The last season was kind of anticlimactic in a lot of ways for me. I feel like that could have been truncated into a made-for-TV movie in like 2 episodes, like a 2 hour. It could be 2 hours of the last season of The Handmaid's Tale, because I think they were kind of stretching it out as they do. There's a lot of filler in that last season. They're back with the Testaments, and I'll read the boilerplate for that. The sequel to A Handmaid's Tale follow Agnes and Daisy, 2 teens of Gilead who must navigate the elite preparatory school where obedience is brutally enforced. Their bond becomes the catalyst that will transform their lives. I told Kat, this is like The Hills meets The Handmaid's Tale, because you have high teen drama. How do the girls interact in this school, right? They brought back a bunch of great cast members that that I thought were like, I'm never going to see them again. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I will tell you this. One of the shining moments of A Handmaid's Tale in its seasons is Ann Dowd. She is, Aunt Lydia is probably one of the most complex characters on TV. And she's back with the charge of these girls. And these girls are in this kind of, futuristic, very, and I'm a churchgoer person. I understand the story they're trying to tell here. So I'm not triggered by it. Okay. But, this is a very, heavily twisted Christian inspired society that they have here. And so it's just a really interesting story. Definitely adult, still very adult in how they handle this. And I will tell you that it's still riveting to me, albeit a lot of the same beats. It's going to be very familiar to you. But if you want to see the story continue, you'd be interested in the Testaments. And I'm just interested in how this is going to turn out. More fun to be had because I'm catching up on Lower Decks. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. And I had missed the last season of Lower Decks. And what can I say? It is some of the best Star Trek that's out there. Some of the best Star Trek is Lower Decks because the fan service is real. And I love the cast. Tawny Newsome, Jack Quaid, brilliant. So much fun. The writers, it's a love letter to Star Trek fans. If I am a huge Star Trek fan, and I send this to my fellow Star Trek fans. If you're out there, you haven't seen Lower Decks, go out of your way to see it.
Please.
The casting is wonderful. Once again, go out of your way to check it out. Anson Mount, I love it. He's more than a haircut gang. He's great. Love Anson Mount. He's wonderful. And so is the rest of the cast. Last bit, we're going to talk about this movie, Tarot. You talk about teens and teen angst. This is definitely that. Jacob Batalon, and you know him from Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man movies. He's Peter Parker's best friend, but here he is in a teen group that, of course, pulls out the tarot cards, much like Ouija. It's kind of the same thing. Kids go off into a crazy vacation, spring break, pull out the tarot cards. The tarot cards are cursed. Death is hunting them down because of the tarot cards, and they find somebody. This person helps them through, but can they beat the tarot cards before they get axed? That's the whole premise, gang. So is it more of the same? Yes, it's more of the same. Is there anything new that happens in this film other than some of the strange kills? It's okay. So for me, it meets me in the middle. It's okay. The cast makes it semi-worthwhile. So it wasn't a complete waste. I give it a 5 or 6 out of 10. All right. Everything else, I highly recommend. Oh, yes. And Darth Maul, Star Wars Shadow Lord, I forgot to mention. I didn't see this coming. It's something that I've wanted. I think it's something fans wanted. I'm not going to spoil it for you. So check out Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord, because at the very end, the last 2 episodes will change your life.
I have to get through that.
It'll change your life, and you're going to be like, wow, I see this in animated form. I never thought I would see this in animated form, but no, it's good. There's several characters that make it all worthwhile. The very beginning of Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord is plotting to me. It's very slow to me. And so I almost gave up, and then I was like, I'm gonna just stick it out. I'm glad I did, because it makes it work. It so the slow burn at the very beginning, wait out the first 3 episodes. The back half of the series, complete throttle up. So that is my recommendation. Star Wars Darth Maul Shadow Lord. Go check it out. That's what we've been seeing this week, gang. What have you been watching? Be sure to let us know, and we'll check it out in a future episode.
Skull Rock Podcast. This week in Disney and pop culture.
Wow, gang. If you made it this far, you're a trooper. Mother's Day weekend. You know, I forgot to even say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And to my mom, R.I.P. Love you. Still miss you. And nothing says Mother's Day more like Mortal Kombat 2.
Yes.
And how's that for a segue?
Heck yeah.
A film that I understand is kind of righting the wrongs of the first Mortal Kombat that came out during the pandemic. I was not a fan of the Mortal Kombat reboot that came out basically in 2022, I believe. Mortal Kombat 2 seems to be riding that ship based on Johnny Cage, and I'm here for it. It opened up with 5.2 million in Thursday previews, is on pace to be 42 million domestic opening, and early national international receipts, we're looking at about 8.9. So that's not bad for this type of film, gang. And it's battling for number 1, of course. Recently reviewed the Devil Wears Prada 2. It didn't live up to her expectations, but it's definitely doing that at the box office. $42 million weekend, on pace to hit $111.6 million globally. So that's 300 million, already surpassing the original film's gross. Well, Disney backed up that bring truck. Michael is still continuing to be strong. I think it's in its second week or third week. Approaching 570 million globally. How about that? Not too shabby. So we start with the top 10. Mortal Kombat at 1, Devil Wears Prada number 2, Michael at 3, Billie Eilish, I have not seen the tour film yet, 4.5 million. And then The Sheep Detectives, For the Pure of Heart.
I hope it's real. I hope it's true.
I hope so too, because there's nothing more that I like than a bunch of, real life animated animals.
CGI sheep.
It's just CGI sheep, yes.
Don't forget Emma Thompson. It's a stacked cast. It's a stacked cast.
I love it. It's good stuff indeed. In Disney news, we just went past Star Wars Day, and it is so commercialized. I realized that I bought into, because I bought me a lightsaber.
Hey.
During Star Wars Day. Couldn't help myself. A lot of new merch we talked about on the Dining at Disney podcast. So, that was a really cool thing. And of course, everything leading to The Mandalorian, that's going to be in theaters at the end of the month. Disney Plus just recently released a few minutes of the film on Disney Plus as kind of a little teaser. And I was delighted, because everything you love about The Mandalorian in the Star Wars universe, including the cutest Grogu, was on full display there. I hope they deliver. Please deliver good Star Wars. What are your hopes for this film, Kat?
I just want to have a good time. I'm not going to lie to you. I just want to have a good time.
Yes.
The Anzellans are like my favorite thing after LBY. We love LBY, a little baby Yoda Grogu. We love him so much. But the Anzellans and Babu Frick, just, I'd watch an entire movie of just them having shenanigans. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. The final trailer is incredible.
It looks really good. And by the way, did you know that they sell the little Babu Fricks now at Galaxy's Edge?
I love
little
him.
ones. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Marvel Studios, as Kat mentioned earlier, Punisher: One Last Kill going to be streaming next week, so that's going to be exciting.
Co-written by Johnny Bernthal, which I did not realize until like 2 days ago. He's just like out in the world doing everything right now.
I mean, what can't he do?
Serious.
What can't he do? Really good stuff here. Hey, by the way, new music that has new albums from Madison Beer, Khalid, Kesha, and others. I can't wait to check out the new Kesha. It's going to be great. Can't wait.
It's really good.
It's really good? Good.
It's really good.
I'm glad. No Doubt kicks off the residency in the Sphere. I have seen, the first month completely sold out. My band is back. My wife and I are huge No Doubt fans. No Doubt was, by the way, one of the most influential bands in my songwriting career, because my band was kind of ska, pop, punk, female fronted back in the late 90s. And they were a huge influence on me, just like Garbage and, the Cardigans and so many great bands of that era. But No Doubt is back at the Sphere and they're rocking it. And I'm so happy to see the band back together. That makes me so happy. And Tom Dumont, the guitarist for No Doubt, recently came out and said that he was diagnosed with ALS. And I made a message to him because he's one of my guitar heroes. I said, just keep the fight. Just keep fighting. And now it is time for
Skull Rock Podcast.
You're like that little arrow on your hat, straight and shining, and that's the way I'll always remember you.
I'll always remember you. I'll always remember you.
I'll always remember you, Sharon.
They hang you, I'll always remember you.
In memoriam.
I haven't had you back on the show, Kat, since we started doing the little film clips. Do you appreciate that? The film
I
clips?
do, especially anything with Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah. I know you're
favorite
a big fan. That's why I mention it now. So this week, Ted Turner passes away, media mogul who founded CNN, TBS, TNT, and the Turner Music Channel. Owner of the Braves, philanthropist, died 87 from complications of Lewy body dementia. He revolutionized cable television and news broadcasting. I am sad to hear this. I know that his health has been declining over the past few years. And as a person, when I was in school to study broadcasting and programming, by the way, that was my major. So I studied from the Ted Turner playbook. The shift to that 6:05, shifting 5 minutes in order to gain multiple quarter hours in winning ratings, the 24-hour news cycle of CNN. There's so many things that Ted Turner brought about in broadcasting that we have adopted today that was completely groundbreaking. Ted Turner coming up from humble beginnings and getting billboards and then turning out the Turner Media Empire and everything. That's something that people don't realize is how influential he was to the realm of TV programming.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that alone, just hugely monumental figure in TV. And so, may you rest in peace. Of course, Turner movie classics, Kat. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. Jane Fonda wrote a lovely piece about him on her Instagram. They were married for many years. That's really moving. If you haven't checked it out, I would highly suggest checking it out.
And I also have Ted Turner to thank because of pro wrestling, because he really wanted pro wrestling to serve the audience. And I am a huge pro wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
And he owned WCW before it folded in 2001 and bought by the WWE. But I was a huge fan of that. And I definitely was a Southern wrestling fan. Coming from Seattle, moving down here, I fell in love with wrestling because of Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes and the Mellow Yellow cans. That's exactly what happened to me back in the mid '80s, and really has kind of fueled my childhood. So I watched a lot of TBS back in the day. Now I missed some celebrity passings over the past few weeks, so we'll just kind of round these up too. Nedra Talley Ross passed away at the age of 80 from natural causes. She was a founding member of the Ronettes, classic rock band. Be My Baby, Baby I Love You, all that stuff, for Ronnie Spector and all that from the Ronettes. Wow, just incredible. David Allen Coe died April 30th, but reported in late April, not specified in terms of his passing, but he had some long-term health complications. David Allen Coe, just a tremendous songwriter. And then the Masters of the Universe He-Man film going to be hitting theaters soon. And Roger Sweet, the creator of He-Man and Masters of the Universe, I believe he worked for Marvel as a storyteller and an artist, but he really defined the 1980s animation culture with Filmation and the stuff that he made for He-Man. He passed away as well, and there was a lot of great tributes from a lot of comic book artists during the time he passed away, April 28th at the age of 91. Are you looking forward to seeing He-Man in the theater?
It looks wild.
It does, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Idris Elba's in it, so that can't be bad.
Idris Elba. I love Idris Elba. Idris Elba's like Demon Hansu. Like, if they call him, he's saying yes. Doesn't matter what it is. He's saying yes. And I'm like, yeah. To all the right things. To all the right things. He doesn't get offered anything terrible. He just is like, yeah, I'll do it. Great.
Even if it's chicken shit, he makes it awesome.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
I mean, who knows?
It's fantastic.
It's the gold.
It's fantastic.
But from everything I've seen about the new Masters of the Universe film, I'm sure it'll pay stunning tribute to Roger Sweet. There's a lot of his artwork that I saw, I believe, in the trailers as Adam, or Prince Adam, if you will, on Earth, is working for a toy company or comic book company like Mattel, putting out these Masters of the Universe, kind of style Conan figures, which is awesome. So a lot of that artwork and original boards that he wrote up for the story treatments for the Masters of the Universe Eternia kind of a world was actually posted in there. And I thought that was just fitting. So lovely when they do that.
Yeah.
Of that fan service. It's great. So rest in peace, Roger Sweet. All right, gang, it is time now for our interview. We have JJ Sedelmaier part 2. Sit back and enjoy as we launch into this interview right here on Skull Rock Podcast.
Hey, let's chat.
Let's chat afterwards. Let's chat. And he said, let's chat again.
Skull Rock Podcast. Interview time.
Well, Aljon, we are back for week 2 with JJ Sedelmaier, animator, producer, director, graphic designer, just all around great animation person.
JJ, you thought we were weak in 1. We're even weaker in 2.
JJ, welcome back to the Skull Rock Podcast.
Where did Skull Rock come from?
Skull Rock was just the name we came up with. If you remember in Peter Pan, there is Skull Island, there's Skull Rock, and then at the earliest Disneyland, there was a life-size Skull Rock with water coming out of its eyes at the pirate ship lagoon, where the Chicken of the Sea restaurant was in the hull of the pirate ship. Anyway. I like to say Aljon and I are sitting in each eye socket looking out at the world and commentating. But anyway, last week we kind of ended talking, you were talking about Beavis and Butthead and doing that first season with MTV, but also, we touched on briefly some of your commercials. I kind of felt like you skated through the commercials. I want to talk a little bit more in depth. You talked about the 7-Up commercials and those making the rounds to most of the commercial studios in the U.S., but what other types of commercials were you doing? And I want to spend a little time on each one and why, what did you do on it? And, why did you go in a particular direction?
I think that the idea of this pulling from the illustration, cartooning, design community, wherever, it didn't have to be in New York, because we'd gotten into the whole faxing world now, and you could get drawings directly from the artist, and the artist didn't necessarily have to come in or send it in. They could, fax in the drawings.
Yeah.
Which meant we didn't have a lot of original artwork anymore, which was kind of, that idea of pulling from that talent pool continued through the entire life of the studio, because again, it was a wonderful resource for being able to get a look out there, a graphic vocabulary out there that hadn't necessarily been seen before. And and working with each artist is always going to be different, which was just so exciting and so much fun. Never had a bad experience working with any of the people that we did as outside designers. And so I also took it on myself to say, okay, I'm back in junior high school. Who would I love to work with? And there were still people around, and I would just approach them and say, God, I've always loved your work, and I'd love to find a project, that we could collaborate on. So I think we did a campaign of spots for an investment company called George Brown. That was the print campaign prior to them doing animation, was designed by David Levine, a very well-known caricaturist, although his design is just fraught with cross-hatching, detailed cross-hatching. And it wasn't an easy style to animate. The character work was fine, but giving it that rendering that he did.
Mm-hmm.
But those sorts of challenges were so much, again, a part of this whole animal that was so much fun to figure out, how are we going to translate this, not only in terms of just making it move, but doing justice to the technique, not just making it move, but if this person worked in animation, or if this character existed in an animated world, what would they look like and how would they move and so forth. So everybody in the studio shared that same passion. And what we also did too is, somebody might be assisting on a spot in January. In April, they're animating. In September, they're designing or doing something else in the studio. After Beavis, we got down small again. And like eight to 10 people was the good size.
That was the optimal for you.
Yeah, because everybody got to share in the experience of the production of the spot. Even if they weren't intimately involved in that production, the person who they're sitting next to was working on something different than they were. So It was a real great environment. We had the Mad magazine. We did some spots that actually, one was designed by Al Jaffe, another one was Bill Plimpton. With Bill, I just kind of gave the whole spot to him because he's a filmmaker in his own right.
Yeah, and I was going to just bring this up. Obviously in commercials, you're trying to differentiate from the competition. So you're dealing with a lot of different styles. Would you say that your studio had a house style that you were known for? Or
we had a house sensibility throughout. The only time we had a style is after, in 1996, we had done a one-shot cartoon for the Dana Carvey show, which was the Ambiguously Gay Duo.
Yes.
That later went on to be kind of like the foundation and the linchpin for all the Saturday Night Live cartoons that we did for the next 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
After that. And then we had this style. Yeah, we became known as a studio who did this kind of dumb, clunky, stupid style, but it was very funny.
Yeah.
And it scared the shit out of me after a couple of years, because I started getting calls from people, because we had that title card at the end of the SNL cartoons. It said J.J. Sedelmaier Productions. And I started getting calls from advertising agencies, and I always knew it was like the same kind of thing where they get me on the phone, they go, "Is this J.J. Sedelmaier?" And I go, "Yes." And, "Oh, great. We've seen your stuff. I'm calling from an advertising agency, and we do commercials. We were wondering if you'd ever consider doing a commercial." And it was like, if you go down the hall to your library, you probably got 12 of our 3/4 inch sample reels. So I realized, oh my God, we're well known, but people don't think we exist in the realm that we exist because we were so chameleon-like.
Yeah.
Nothing I could really do about that other than, bathe in, all of the pleasure we were giving people. But I had to go on kind of like a marketing promo tour to just reacquaint people with all the work that we had done.
Yeah, and speaking of house styles, of course, Bill Plimpton has a very distinct style, which you've seen in Perrier commercials, or more recently in the Red Bull, Get Wings series of commercials.
Yeah, those aren't Bill's. Bill's are more,
are
like
they
the colored crayon.
I thought Bill did the Perrier commercials.
Initially, they were done by Blackman, and the Red Bulls are ripoffs of Blackman. The Red Bull campaign is very interesting because they're done overseas. And
my gosh, I actually thought those were Bill Plimpton's commercials.
No, and they do this kind of ersatz due diligence to pretend like they're looking and checking out all the other studios, possibly in the United States. But no, they do all the production there. They've had it in production for probably 15, 20 years. And Bill's stuff is distinctive in its colored pencil sketchiness and so forth. And those Ford spots we did with Al Jaffe, Bill Plimpton. The other artist was M.K. Brown, who is the person I put in our newsletter in high school. And she's such a wonderful person, and her sensibility and her sense of humor is so marvelous. I just was talking to her last week. Just such a, and again, having people like that in your background, having worked with them, gotten to know them, in some cases call them friends, is just amazing.
And I'm imagining in the New York animation community, it's a fairly tight-knit group of people, because it's not like there's thousands of people in the animation industry like there is out in Los Angeles.
Yeah, the New York, we're kind of like the bag people of the industry, in that there's not the same level of kind of pseudo sophistication like you got in California. And it all has to do with, LA and Hollywood and all that. It's an industry town. There's less, until maybe relatively recently. New York isn't as structured as California is.
It's more nomadic. You're going project to project and and you're circulating through various places.
There hasn't been a union in New York for 30 years at least.
Really?
Yeah, and the local 841 imploded. Probably the late 90s, it had evaporated. But yeah, the industry, it's much scrappier. You've got Titmouse, you got Hornet, you've got other facilities that do kind of animation, but you don't have the animation dedicated studios that you used to have here.
Yeah.
Or even the color boutique places. It's weird because now animators and production people have the flexibility to work at home. But that gathering together in a studio environment was so important on so many different levels. People getting to know how things are done, people getting to know what other people are doing. ASIFA helps in that respect because people gather and cross-reference and so forth.
Sure.
But it's not like, being able to have the day-to-day studio exist. You see it in advertising too. You didn't really realize how many projects came to be just because people bumped into each other in the hall. Yeah. And all sorts of things, it's really great to be in the midst of all this different stuff going on. I have a great deal of trouble trying to help young people how to coach them as to what to do,
especially in the New York area.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, it's Los Angeles right now. The entire industry is going through a sea change.
Oh, everything. I mean, SAG-AFTRA, is experiencing the same stuff. It's all over for the film production period.
Yeah. Did what were some of the bigger clients that you did commercials for? Obviously there was Leo Burnett was a big agency, but out of Chicago, but you had a lot of large agencies in Manhattan that were handling national and international accounts.
Yes. We did better the smaller the agency was.
Okay.
And working with Burnett, even their smaller offshoots like LB Works and so forth, was kind of working with a network. It was the same, corporate stuff. Whereas if you had a small agency, you had people that were more up for kind of whacked out, fresh stuff. We did Scrubbing Bubbles.
Oh yeah.
And it was CG. And but I also was aware that it was with Ogilvy in Chicago, and Scrubbing Bubbles was a LB Johnson or whatever. Yeah. SC Johnson, a family company. So I knew we weren't going to make any kind of, we weren't going to break any barriers. However, the reason I wanted to do that campaign is because the SC Johnson corporate headquarters is in Racine, Wisconsin, and is in a Frank Lloyd Wright building that was built in the 40s.
Okay.
And I was going to be goddamn if I wasn't going to be able to go to that building and see what it was like. So that was my motivation. It was also an inroad into working in CG,
yeah,
which our studio was not known for. We had done Speedy Alka-Seltzer stuff with Frame Store through Ogilvy as well. And that was a learning experience. It's very interesting. And so, it was fun because I was designing the characters from a kind of 2D sensibility. And I was very well aware that the Scrubbing Bubbles always seemed to be on the forefront of technology when it came to their animation, because I can remember in the 80s, they were starting to use CG, which was very, very kind of outrageous. So that was interesting. We did camp for years. We did campaign for the tissue, the toilet tissue.
Charmin or?
No, it was Northern.
Okay.
And it was designed by Bonnie Timmons, a kind of Bleckman-esque, naive, gentle little pen and ink wash drawings. They were a lot of fun to work on, but then they felt the obligation after about 2.5, 3 years to investigate doing it in CG, which I wasn't interested in then, because they wanted to take these naive little 2D hand-drawn characters and try to translate them into CG. And it was two different dialects that were just not going to work. I used to spend a lot of time trying to get people to understand whether their choice to do animation was correct or not, or at least get them to understand why it wasn't necessarily correct and how we could steer it in a direction that was going to make sense using animation. Because of our background with SNL in particular, a lot of people wanted us to do what we did for SNL. In other words, extract humor, but they weren't really ready to go in the direction that you needed to go to extract the kind of humor that we were getting from SNL. They didn't want to be cutting edge. So I tried as early as possible to get them on board with me for all the right reasons, as opposed to just pretend like I was going to be able to convince them and get in a situation that was going to be horrible for everybody.
Did you feel that some of these people were coming to you wanting to do CG because CG was a fad, that was the in thing, and they needed to do it, or did some of them come to you with legit reasons why they wanted to use CG?
Yeah, it was both, but because we were primarily known for being a 2D studio, I didn't have as many people coming to us for CG unless they were really close friends who understood that it didn't matter whether it was CG or 2D. I was going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
But your question there was more close to a lot of people would come to us to do animation, but didn't really understand why they were asking us to do animation. That's where I had to kind of do a fast primer introduction to animation 101 and convince myself that they understood why it was going to work the way it was going to work. And that was always best to do up front. You could not go in expecting them to just be on board at some point. You had to be convinced that they were on board from day one.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it was a good experience.
You know, this whole transition from 2D to CG, some of it felt like people were just riding a fad, or this was the in thing to do.
Absolutely. And we saw the same thing with Flash. When Flash came in, everybody thought, we're going to do Flash. Well, what is Flash? I don't know, but everybody was talking about it. So it's absolutely, and in some respects, it was animation that we'd do that with. Yeah, we're going to do an animated spot.
Yeah, but you know, it's interesting to me because when you look at certain characters, they were designed for the 2D medium. And to try and convert them into CG characters, it lost some of the charm of the character, you know, whether it's Tony the Tiger or Toucan Sam, you know, or the Rice Krispies, you know, Snap, Crackle, and Pop. They felt like, you know, trying to translate those into CG, it just made them look plastic and not really as attractive or you know, beautifully drawn as the 2D.
Because they're not beautifully drawn, and the drawing it has disappeared, and what they're doing is replacing it with a pseudo level of reality. Mm-hmm. And once you start to get into reality and they're not behaving like they're real, whether it's lighting, whether it's staging, whatever it is, everything starts to fall apart. It would be like, I mean, a good example would be like, hey, let's do Bleckman CG. What?
Yeah.
You know, you can't do Bleckman CG. Yeah. And initially what was interesting is when Bleckman started to get animated, which was John Hubley really behind that at Storyboard Films, people initially said, well, you can't animate him because the little openings, all the paint will just fall out. I mean, how whacked out is it? I mean, it's just crazy. But yeah, you've got to, I mean, all the charm of the hand-created look, not that it's good for 100% of everything that you want to do.
No, not at all.
When you try to tack on other stuff, it just doesn't work. Yeah. It just, and there's no reason. There can be some wonderful stuff that you do with CG. It's just got to, all the reasons have to be Right.
Well, and that I think that's the important part here, is that you're casting a technique appropriately. So, you know, for Pixar to say, hey, we're going to take rigid body toys and do it CG, that was appropriate when they did Toy Story, the first, CG feature. When you all of a sudden take existing 2D characters and try and force them into the CG world, there's a certain amount that's lost on those characters because they weren't designed for what you're trying to force them into.
Yeah, and again, it's that all the reality that's associated with CG is kind of this dumb dialect that says, hey, because it looks more real, you'll understand this better, you'll get it better. It's kind of true. I mean, if you look at the way most animation is done now, the majority of the animation adheres to that whole CG existence that's all reality, and all that charm of the hand done, hand designed, hand interpreted thing just goes out the window. But you start sounding like an old fart after a while. I don't.
Well, you know something. But again, I would sit there and argue. Look, if you look at some of these CG movies that are coming out, I watch them and go, "Why don't you just shoot this live action? They're all humanoid characters in a somewhat realistic world that you're creating. Why don't you just shoot a live action movie?" And in fact, Disney's doing that. Disney is turning around, and Lilo and Stitch is a great example. I thought it was a terrific animated film, but I also looked at it and said, you could have just done that as a live action film with a Stitch as a CG character, blended into
it's really interesting. This whole the New Yorker magazine is starting to kind of flood the social media, YouTube, with their spot cartoons, but they're animated.
Yeah.
The one-shot drawing where you get an image and you get a little caption, they're animating it. On top of that, they're having celebrities do the reading of the cap. First of all, there's this world you enter when you see a strip or a spot cartoon. It's all yours. You've got the idea of the way it sounds. You got the idea of the way it's timed, although it's not moving. Schultz was the Gutenberg of that realm. And this stuff, it just falls flat because they don't understand why they're animating it. They don't understand why the charm of a single panel is what it is. And everything just falls apart. On top of putting like John Hamm reading the caption, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
It hurts the cartoonist. It hurts the New Yorker's rep. It's not even a good reflection on the voiceover talent. It just is amazingly stupid. But I digress.
No, I think we could sit here for hours and critique some of this
sit
stuff.
Over there for hours. We can sit any place for hours.
I know. So, but getting back to your studio, you were doing all these commercials in the 90s. You went ahead and you did the first season of Beavis and Butthead for MTV. What came after that, and what was the shift that was happening in the early aughts?
Well, the big thing, even more than Beavis, that put us on the map was the SNL cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been friends with Jim Signorelli, who was the guy who was the producer director of most of the parody commercials for SNL. And we gotten to know each other, and we had been kind of brainstorming and strategizing, how can we do an animated piece? Because it seemed to be out of their wheelhouse when it came to budget. But one of the writers had an idea of doing a thing called Cluckin' Chicken, which is a takeoff on a fast food chicken restaurant. And it was Smigel, Robert Smigel. And they had never done animation before. And it was just how this stupid restaurant mascot takes you through the whole process, gets his head cut off, he gets cooked, he gets, eaten, the whole thing. And it was brilliant. And this was a time before CG, before even digital stuff. So this was 92. So we were still working on cell, and we were working with mats, and we were working with opticals and all this other stuff. But the spot came out beautifully. But by the end, Robert and I had butted heads over different aspects. And this was one situation where I think I had burned every bridge possible between him and I. So I got a call a couple months later that they were going to do this new show with this guy named Conan O'Brien. He was going to take over late night. Would you mind coming over, talk to us about doing a title sequence that was animated? I go over to NBC and I'm sitting there, and Robert Smigel walks in, and I'm going, oh, what? And he explains to me, we thought we'd do something hand drawn. It'd be kind of cool, this and that. And I don't understand what I'm hearing, because I'm saying, I truly said terrible things to you. Why you want to try to do this again? He said, everybody says that to me. So we really, from that point on, we went on to do the Conan O'Brien stuff, and then the Dana Carvey cartoon came in. And then before we knew it, we were in production on these cartoons for SNL that were truly groundbreaking. Well, if for no other reason, if I were an independent animator or producer, I couldn't have done those cartoons and put those cartoons, like in festivals. I'd get my ass sued, and that would be it.
Well, I want to ask you that question though, like on the ambiguously gay duo, do you feel like you could do that today? Or has the environment has
being politically correct?
Yeah, has the environment changed where you get your head handed to you?
Well, first of all, I had never received a negative response from the gay community about Ace and Gary.
Right.
They loved it. And when it came to this aspect of litigiousness, with doing this stuff, whether it was, a celebrity or a cartoon character, SNL has this lovely umbrella of indemnification.
Yeah.
That you got away with murder. We made sure we were indemnified by NBC before we did those things.
Right.
But as a result, we got to do things with animation and change people's perception of animation and what it could be. It was an adult thing. Our fucking credits were in the middle of the show at the end of the cartoon.
Yeah.
And it was fabulous. So, that reel of 30 some cartoons that we did on all different levels of humor, and everything from Humphrey Bogart farting in Casablanca to Michael Jackson being a pedophile.
Mm-hmm.
It was just extraordinary. So that made, in most respects, that made life very easy for us, because we came with this reputation that was unquestionable.
You had street cred.
Yeah. And the only time it became difficult is when I had alluded to earlier, when people wanted to do projects in advertising that had the same impact that the SNL stuff came with. But, there was no way SC Johnson, a family company, was going to be doing Michael Jackson as a pedophile.
Right. I have to step back for a second because I'm sitting here laughing. Having grown up in New York, you were talking about that guy walking into the office at NBC, and you're like, wait a second, I said all these horrible things to you. And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. And you went on and worked together. I think that, to me, I've always felt that's a New York thing. You could have a knockdown, drag out argument with somebody, call each other names, and then look at your watch and go, hey, it's lunch. Where do you want to go eat?
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, there was this, hey, what are you worried about, huh? Yeah, that's but Smigel is such a brilliant conceptualist writer, and this bank of people that he had behind him writing with him. It was just a godsend to be a part, and that's how I got into the Colbert.
Yeah.
Old and all these people are indebted to Robert for what he's done to help their careers, that were all this kind of gosh golly thanks sort of group behind him.
Yeah. When you look back over all of the work you did at J.J. Sedelmaier Studios, what's the one project? And I know this is a hard question because each project has its own, memories and all those things, but was there some project that bubbled to the surface that you look back on and go, wow, I'm so glad I did that, or I wish I didn't do it, or whatever?
Yeah, it's real hard to do with the animated stuff. What I can say is that I think in general, what I'm most proud of are the things that people who worked in the studio got exposure to. And I'm not just talking animation. I mean, there's a guy I got to know who owns one of the Green Hornet Black Beauty cars from the TV show in the 60s.
Wow.
We got involved in helping him do restoration of stuff. We got 2 buildings, our studio building and a train station in Skokie, Illinois, on the National Register of Historic Places. And I was able to use the reputation of the studio to lend credibility to those projects to see them happen. That's the sort of stuff it's just wonderful. The commercial stuff, I mean, if I had to clump anything besides the fact that I got to work and know with all these wonderful people, it's probably the SNL work, only because I've seen how that's reverberated through the industry. Even the Beavis involvement helped, because when we did Beavis, there was The Simpsons, and I think South Park had started to come in, but there was no Family Guy. There was no. I think that Beavis really helped also recondition people to consider animation being something other than ducks and bunnies, which was really important to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's nothing better than whether I'm on Facebook or somebody comes up to me at an event or what, oh, those are the best years, that I had working any place. And that's what was fantastic. That's what's fantastic.
Yeah. We're starting to bump up against time, but I want to come back next week, and I really want to delve into a little bit more of the history of animation in New York City, and
Sure.
and talk to you a little bit about the Fleischer Studios and some of the things that happened with the Fleischers before they moved to Florida and all of that, because I think it's important. I want to have that conversation, and I'm interested in it. So and I think our listeners
Absolutely.
will be interested.
I love talking about that stuff.
So in the meantime, I'm going to say, J.J. Sedelmaier, thank you for being on the Skull Rock podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Let's get out of here!
Come on, Scotty, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here, Lieutenant.
All right, gang, that wraps up part 2, and tune in next week for part 3 as we talk more about J.J. Sedelmaier's career, life, and times, and what he's up to now with his studio. Once again, great insights from a legend in animation. Gang, if you love Disney and pop culture, please be sure to subscribe on the show on your favorite podcast platform, as well as give us a like and follow. We're on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, Instagram. We're there. Find us. We're out there. You can also send Dave and I an email, Dave or Aljon at skullrockpodcast.com. Be sure you check me out and Kat, as well as my wife, Kristen. We're on Dining at Disney podcast. We have releases every single week. We talk about Disney and the parks and, of course, our favorite Disney food. And I will also let you know that you can check out Dave. He's on Sirius XM Disney Hits, channel 133. And he's got all kinds of tunes behind the tunes. He talks about his favorite music and what goes on and inspiring those particular pieces of music that you know and love from the Disney films. You can also check out oldmillpress.com, where you can find his new book, The Art of John Keenmaker, An Animator's Garden, A Spoonful of Sugar, The Story of the Upjohn Pharmacy at Disneyland by Stephen Hall. Check out more stuff there at davidbossert.com. Kat, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at catastrophe at CAT_ASTROPHE. And of course, like Aljon said, every week over at Dining at Disney when my schedule allows it, unfortunately. Thank you again, Aljon, for having me. It's always a pleasure to fill in for Dave. And one day, someday soon, we will be on this show at the same time. Or some show, any show, really. It doesn't matter what show.
I have to say this. You are such a brilliant mind, Kat. Thank you so much for being on the show. If you're an Imagineer out there, tap her, because she is untapped. She is untapped. Anyway, gang, thank you so much. Thank you, Kat, for being on the show. Thank you for listening, team. We appreciate you being part of the Skull Rock family. Thank you so much. As Dave says, be good to yourself, be good to each other. We'll see you next week on an all-new episode of Skull Rock Podcast.